I actually started with a blog post. And by the end of 2010, I was running a design agency. I was working with a bunch of companies in Silicon Valley. We were doing well, but I was kind of itching to see if there is something else that I can do. Working as, creating consultancy or creating a freelance agency is kind of draining because you're always, while you're doing one project, you're always looking for another project and so on. And it just seemed like I wanted to experiment with something else. So I took time off, and we had been using, at that point, we'd been using Keynote, not Keynotopia. So Keynote and PowerPoint to create prototypes for our customers. Instead of doing Photoshop or very complicated design tools, we just used Keynote because we found that it does the job really well and really fast. So when I took the time off, I'm like, okay, maybe I should just write about how I've been using Keynote to that point to create those prototypes. And the iPad had just came out, I think it was like April, May of 2010. So I bought one, I played with it, and I started creating prototypes and so on. And I found that it was like, I can do something on the iPad that I can tap through. And because I can create screens and links from each screen to another, it felt like a really functional prototype. It was just fake screens linking to each other. So I'm like, okay, this looks cool. I'm going to just write a simple blog post and see if anyone would actually read that blog post. So I wrote actually a lengthy blog post. I spent about a couple of days writing it. I made a video. And in that blog post, just a quick shout, the timer isn't working, so I'm probably going to use my own timer on the watch. So I created the blog post. I made like a little video on YouTube, and I put like a little kit that I created, just 2 slides or 3 slides that has a bunch of components that I created in Keynote. And I was like, if you want to download it, just click this button and download this kit. And in my mind, I've been always wondering, okay, is this going to be useful to anyone? So what happened was kind of unexpected. Within a couple of weeks, I had 25,000 views on the blog post. Over 500 people downloaded the kit or like the zip file that I had the kit in, and over 100 people were mentioning the blog post and linking back to it. But more than that, I was getting comments on the blog posts and email, people saying, can you do this for the iPhone as well? Can you make this kit for me on the Android? So I thought like, okay, maybe someday I'll start creating now. I have, some time off. I'll put together a kit and a website. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to take a couple of weeks to do this. There is enough time. But then at some point, I'm like, okay, I've always wanted to do something quickly. Before that agency, I had spent like 9 months and over $10,000 of my own savings to create a product that I never launched. So at this point, I was like, okay, maybe I should just put for myself a really small period of time, like a short deadline, and see what I can create. So put together a website in 3 hours, finished that kit update people were asking for, and linked it with eJunkie software, horrible name for a software, but it really works well. It's like a shopping cart software. And put it online, and I relinked the download button from the blog post. So instead of people downloading the kit with the blog post, it will link them to Keynotopia, which is the website I launched that evening. And in my head, I was also like, should I really, is anyone going to find this useful? And I have a design background, and the website looked really ugly. So I remember like that night, I was hungry after like working for 3 hours. So I go to the kitchen, making some oatmeal. And in my head, I was like, maybe I should take down the website until it looks good enough and then put it back up. And by the time I had gone back to the laptop, I had an email from PayPal saying that I had the first customer. So I was happy to like, okay, let's keep it there. Obviously, it's useful. It's not pretty. I'm going to improve it. And the kit was very elementary. This is like the first snapshot of what we create on the website in probably 2010, 2011. So 2 months later, we had 20,000 visitors to the website, over 1,500 people paid for the product, and about 750 link backs to the website. So people started talking about it, and it started taking off. And in my head, I was like, okay, maybe I'll do this as an experiment. I never had like a business background. I wanted to do something that would teach me how to launch and grow an online business. And this seemed like a good kind of framework for me to learn. So I took the time, I closed the design agency. I'm like, I'm gonna focus on this. There is some kind of revenue coming through. I'm gonna take this to kind of bootstrap the product. And within a few months, a bunch of people started to talk about the product. And I was getting surprised, like, why are these people talking about this kit? I'm like, I'm doing something that I wanna keep small and experiment with. So a bunch of people talked about it. Even this guy talked about it. And 3 years later, we had over 50,000 customers, over 1,500 link backs and mentions on the web, excluding Twitter. On Twitter alone, probably had over 100,000 mentions. We grew from one product to 4 different products plus 2 courses, and the quality of the product improved a lot. We kept putting up more updates and launching more products. So how many people here are on their first year of the product or the business? Cool, okay. So this is what we did on the first year that really worked for us. Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing, but I didn't want to wait until I knew what I was doing. I wanted to take this as kind of like my practice to learn. So I was asking a lot of questions. I was like, as soon as someone would sign up to the product, I would jump on the email and ask them questions. How did you find about us? What would you like to have in the product? What can we do to improve it? Do you think the price is right? To give you perspective, the price when I launched was $4 for the kit. And I thought like no one would buy it. Right now, the price is $150. And I'll tell you through the process how we got the price right. I was also like flooding forums with questions. Like I went to business forums, internet marketing forums, anything that I knew I had like a specific question about, I would go and ask. So like at some point we had like competition sign up for our product, and like we had a mailing list that I was like getting what we were announcing to the mailing list and using it for their product. And I would go and ask, okay, what do I do if my competition is hiding in my mailing list? How do I do SEM? How do I do SEO? So I asked a lot of questions because I wanted to learn as I go. And I think that worked well, probably better than what I tried to do with other products before, which is try to learn everything and then feel confident before launching the product. The other thing that I learned is people are waiting to learn about your product, especially people who care about this domain. So I found out what, design community is kind of, well knit and well tied. So I'm like, I would go and ask people, you did prototyping with this tool. They would have a blog post about prototyping with a specific tool. And I would read through the blog post. I wouldn't spam them. Like I wouldn't post the comments like, hey, check out my website, or hey, check out my business. But I would read their blog post because they're relevant to my business. And I would ask them a question at the end of the blog post. Sometimes I wouldn't even post a question about or post a comment about my product, but I would genuinely be curious about their tool, what they found interesting, and why did they vote for that tool versus another. Once the conversation started, they would ask about what I'm doing. I can leave them a link. So surprisingly, a lot of the blog posts, especially in the design community, didn't have any comments. So these people, despite the fact that posting, they're important, like they were VPs of design agencies and important designers, but it's not like they didn't have much discussion. So they were happy I was starting a discussion on their blogs. On the first year, what you want is you want to try a lot of things, because not everything that works for a specific business would work the same for another. So, for example, for SEM, for search engine marketing, we did a lot of content, we did videos, we We also posted ads on social media. We posted ads on Google. We tried a ton of things, but we tried only the things that we can measure if we're getting any kind of revenue from. So in the beginning, like the first year, you want to diverge all your like traffic channels. You want to diverge all the methods that you want to grow the business. And as you'll see, like on the second year, we started to kind of converge into only 20% that worked for us. And everything that you try, you need to measure. So probably that first year, I learned an important lesson, which is the difference between advertising for traffic and advertising for branding, which is, do I get a direct response from my ad, or am I just putting a brand in the head of my potential customers, and then when they hear about it from multiple sources, they come to me? I think advertising for branding is useful on the second and third year, but on the first year, you want to have more like direct response advertising, where can I measure the impact of every dollar I'm putting into ads, or can I measure the traffic from every guest post or every announcement that I'm making? And we did a lot of tests. I think we were running close to 5 tests per week. And I signed up to Optimizely, great tool, highly recommended, because you don't need to be technical. It's a WYSIWYG tool for modifying your whatever landing page or product page. And we were running 3, 4, 5 tests per week. And to this day, we're still running, it was hard to me to get the data and realize that even though I had a design background, I didn't really knew how someone would click on a button if it were green or orange. And we were running tests on outlines of the page, tests on the colors of the buttons, tests on what the button says, learn more, or browse here, or click here. All these things we just did a lot of variations of. And like I said, I just wanted to learn business and launching a product and growing a product, so I treated everything as an experiment. And the funny thing is, like, if you look at like a scientific experiment, you have a hypothesis, and you run the experiment, and you have results. And these results prove or disprove the hypothesis. So there is absolutely no failure in running an experiment, because you're always getting feedback and results. So we tried many things that failed, but to me, I was just getting different results that I was expecting, and I would modify the next experiment to match the results we were getting. You probably know this really well, which is start a mailing list from day one. The reason I used eJunkie, one of the reasons, is that you can hook it up with MailChimp, and every customer who signs up will go directly to your mailing list, and I would start following up with them. I found that we're probably getting 10 times, if not 20 times, the conversion on the mailing list than we're getting on any other channel. And a lot of people think that to have a mailing list just to sell to people, I think a mailing list is really useful in establishing rapport and trust, giving a lot of value to people, and then when the time is right, you tell them about your product. That works differently for different products, especially if your product is kind of like a UI kit that you want to download immediately, or a course that you want to prep people psychologically to accept, and then announce the course to them. And this is another thing, I'm really bad at selling. I used to feel like shy just telling people, please buy my product, it's useful. And I knew it was useful because I was getting feedback from people who used it, but I didn't want to sell. I felt like it didn't resonate with me. But what I was really good at is teaching people. So I put up lots of free videos. Here's how you use Keynote to do this. Here's how you prototype this app. And I started learning how to do timely and relevant videos. So for example, Facebook at some point announced they had a toolkit called Origami, which allowed them to prototype their paper news app in 3 hours or so. So I created a video that shows how you can use Keynote to prototype the same app in 10 minutes. And I posted it the same day they announced their video and their kit. And it became, because it was relevant and timely, people started to refer to it and talk about it. So if your product can be used to kind of in a timely way with a hype news or something that's just coming out in the market and people talk about, just piggyback on that news and try to make your product relevant. So pricing, we started with $4, and I thought that people would call me that day and ask me for the money back, or they would show up on my doorstep the following morning and they'll ask for it. Pricing is interesting because what I learned through time is you have to price your product relevant to the value you're providing people. So initially I thought this product would be for entrepreneurs who don't know how to use expensive design tools to basically prototype their products. It turned out that a lot of design agencies and freelance designers were using it, and it was saving them a lot of time. And I started increasing the price when I realized that, because for entrepreneurs, you're still bootstrapping, you can put in the time, but for freelancers, if I save you an hour on a project, an hour of your time is $100, $150 back that you get. So I can charge you a fraction of that time. And if I give you a guarantee that you'll save that time, you'll be happy to give me that money. So through experimentation, by asking people, the average time saved on each project was about 10 hours. So I was charging people 1/10 of that, which I think is a fair value to ask people to pay. So if you're struggling with prices, ask yourself, what's the value you're providing people? Is it helping them make more money? Is it helping them save time or money? If they're saving time, how much that time is worth? And charge a fair fraction of that. And build relationships with your customers. We built relationships with bloggers. We talked to people. We went to conferences. We networked. And when I say we, it's me. I was running the whole thing for the first year. So build those relationships, because through the year you can do a lot of business development. You can do a lot of cross-marketing. We also ran a couple of deals on AppSumo and a couple of other websites. And deals are very helpful in the beginning to spread the word about your product, because these guys have mailing lists of almost 1 million subscribers. Just be careful in not discounting your entire product so much that there is no further value for you to provide people who sign up for it through the deal, and not to piss off people who already paid full price for it. So I can say a lot about running deals, but due to the time restriction, if you want to learn about deals and stuff, come talk to me after the talk. And learn something about everything. So the first year in your business, you probably want to learn a little bit about marketing, business development, design, a little bit of coding. And the reason for that is it's going to help you hire the right people, because it's very easy for someone to BS you when you don't know exactly what you want. And knowing how to do it will help you a little bit, knowing what exactly you want from them. It's going to also help you communicate to the people you hire your requirements in the language they understand. So I did a lot of internet marketing, like the first year, SEM and SEO, and I really understood the difference between writing good content that's useful and relevant and doing clickbaits and doing click networks and trying to fool search engines. And a lot of the people that I tried to hire on the second year to help with SEO and SEM just wanted to spread random links on the web, and they weren't really interested in building valuable content. And the first year is where you can afford doing a lot of mistakes. So it's a good experimental ground. You're flying under the radar. Not many people are noticing what you're doing, and mistakes are not that expensive at this stage. So year one, you kind of tried everything. You made lots of mistakes. You learned a lot of things. Year two is when I started focusing more on the 20% of the things that give us 80% of the revenue and customers. So I noticed that a lot of the traffic we were getting was due to putting good content and putting good tutorials and videos that made other people in the industry talk about us and send us more links and more customers. So we started doing a lot of these. We put up, we weren't just doing quick blog posts. We did put a course that would take a week from us to create and put it up online for free and have people sign up for it, join the mailing list, and I would send them the course, and I would follow up with them about how the course helped them and if the product would help them. improve your product and focus on quality, as you can afford to hire, at this point, you can hopefully afford to hire people to help you with the product. So for me, this is when I started focusing more on the perfection of the product. The first year was like, I can experiment, I can put things out quickly. People were okay with it being, half-assed quality. I wasn't charging them that much. But the second year, we did a lot of quality improvements, and it helped so much, even for the 5%, only for the 5% of the people who notice it. So the product, we could have done the product with images, like we could have done just UI images, cut and paste into Keynote, but we did painstakingly create every single item as a vector in Keynote, and it would take weeks to just finish one slide. But we wanted to make that quality perfect. Even the icons were all created in Keynote. And 95% of the people didn't notice, but the 5% who noticed, they emailed us back and like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't really expect for you to make it as, as fine-tuned and as perfect as possible. And they told people about it. I highly recommend, whatever your product is, to create a companion course for your product. And the companion course doesn't have to be about your product, but one of the things you can create is to create a course that makes your audience better at their job, whether they use your product or not. So if your target audience is accountants and you're selling them accounting software, but they also deal with other stuff in their business, like how to get clients for accountants. If they trust you from that course, they will probably buy your product, even though the product is marginally relevant to that course. And start sharing your stories with people. I think a lot of people in this audience I know already do that. But as you're going through your entrepreneurial journey, don't be afraid that if you share one of your secrets, other competitors will take it and use it against you. Maybe some of them will do, but you're learning faster and you're sharing more, and people will connect with you, especially your target audience, will connect with you through the stories and the struggles you went through, especially if you share the successes and failures. They'll feel like they're talking to a human being rather than a company or a business. And this is something also important for newsletters. I never write a newsletter in a way that I wouldn't write to a friend or a colleague who emails me. So I never do fancy newsletters with fancy designs that looks like company newsletter. I have a corporate background, and it took me a long time to get over the business language. I used to be at Microsoft for 4 years, and I noticed that I was not talking like a human being. There's a big difference between what I was saying to customers at Microsoft and what I was saying to my friends on email. And when I completely merged both, I got rid of the business language, and I would just email people. It's like, hey, how's it going? We just launched this product, and I'd love for you to check it out and tell your friends about it. What do you think? And I would never try to talk down at customers to make them feel like I have more knowledge or more expertise that they do. I just wanted them to feel like I'm a friend sharing something cool that I found with them. So this is something that really probably made most of the difference in Keynotopia, which is give stuff away for free, but ask people first to give you something, small in advance. So typically, you would have one of two things online. Someone who gives you a download button that's like download for free, download my product for free. There are people who say tweet about my product, and then you download it for free. And there's a third group that says sign up to the mailing list and download my product. I kind of wanted to do a trick that combines almost all these three things. So people come to the landing page. I never tell them the product is completely free. I tell them the product is $50, and they would get it for free if they tweet. And with some product, I actually gave them the option to pay just $50 instead of tweeting. So this kind of emphasizes the value of the product they're about to tweet for. And then the second thing, after they tweet, the button becomes not download, but add to shopping cart. So first thing, this kind of reinforces the value of the product. That's actually, there's a shopping cart, there's a product that they are downloading and buying, but it's for free because they tweeted. And as soon as they check out, they download the product, but their email goes to the mailing list. So I was capturing both their kind of word of mouth to their audience on Twitter and their emails so I can follow up with them afterward. This made a lot of difference. Like at some point, we launched kind of like a mock-up toolkit, which is a hand sketch version of all the toolkits we have. And I was thinking about selling it for like $50. And at some point, I'm like, no, I'm going to use this to get more customers for the high-end products we have. And we set up this page, and I think we have over 100,000 tweets just on this page alone. And finally, second year, you're making less mistakes. So mistakes start to become more expensive as you progress from one year to another. So it's okay to make mistakes, but don't make very expensive ones. The third year is when I kind of started focusing on scaling and growth. So I think it was like around 2013 when I sat down, like, what kind of business do I want to create? Do I really want to grow this company into multiple people, start to create more products, and be a manager, or do I want it to be a lifestyle business? And the latter, I'm just, I had two people working with me offshore and one locally, and I was like, I think this is good enough. I really like doing this on the side. I have other interests, and I'm okay if I don't grow this into a multi-million-dollar a year company, but I'm happy to just keep it at that size. It satisfies my lifestyle, and I don't want to be in the stress of being a manager. So at some point, maybe at the beginning of this third year, you'll have to make that decision, and it will help you kind of hire and strategize and find out what kind of system do you want to create. The third year is also when you want to create a system, and a system is for your product and for your company. So look at your product. How are people landing on your website? Which pages they're going through? How do they make purchase decisions? Do they get the free product first, or do they get the paid product and then you upsell them for the higher end product? Create the system for yourself and for the people you're going to hire, because it's going to help you optimize your business and the purchase funnel for your products. I see a lot of people who, especially I lived in Silicon Valley for 7 years, so during the time I was like building and experimenting with this business, a lot of my friends were raising money and hiring like crazy, and someone would go from like 1 to 10 people in 6 months, and even people they didn't need, but they were just, okay, this is going to help us grow the product. I wanted to hire very carefully, and because I was doing a lot of the creative work on the project, and I was like splitting my time between creative and business, first person I hired was a designer to just offset all the creative business to, and I was just probably spending strategy time with him a few hours a week to tell him exactly what I need and give him feedback. And that freed up my time to kind of focus on running the business versus being in the business. The second person I hired was a product manager, and this is like an organizing persona. Was like, look at all the business, ask me tough questions, help me put like the system book for my business. And then I hired some people as needed, like a system administrator or programmer or marketers, copywriters, and some people are just full-time. So far I only have 3 people working on it and myself. And the tough thing is that you have to learn to let go. At some point in the third year, you recognize that you are running a business, that you're no longer working for that business, that you have to, even though you're still doing the creative stuff, seek the help of other people and give them the time and space they need to kind of surprise you with some good results. And that was tough for me because in the beginning, I was almost micromanaging the person, and then once I kind of let go of being uptight and being so demanding, I would just let them run with it, and they were actually surprising me with things that I didn't expect they would come back with. You want to also start building stronger relationships with your customers, with bloggers, with other entrepreneurs, do business development. So probably the first year also you're experimenting with a lot of relationships, which one's going to work best. And you start to get an idea about what group of people are helping you grow your business better. And on the third year, you want to make these relationships stronger. On the other hand, you want to also help others who are getting started. So go speak at conferences, share your stuff online, create mailing lists, create a guidebook, whatever you can do to help others become better at launching the businesses. It comes back to you tenfold. I found that probably the product you create is your best networking tool more than anything else that you'll try to do. I connected with more people in the last 5 years after creating this product than in 10 years before just trying to go to conferences and exchange cards. I still do that, but it's good that you go somewhere where people know you through the products that you've created. You feel like there is already an established rapport there. Mastermind groups are very, very important, like group of people that you trust. They would keep you committed to your task, that you can bounce ideas with. I found that really helped me on the third year. I was part of multiple mastermind groups, and was part of one in the entrepreneur community, part of one in the design community, part of one in the internet marketing community, and each group was providing completely different perspective about how to grow and optimize the business. So find a group of people you trust. You'll probably meet a lot of them here in these conferences, and ask them. You wanna do a call a week to review our commitments together. I wanna ask you about things I'm thinking about for my business, and happy to help you with things about your business. Not just they help you, but the fact that you're kind of talking your ideas out loud with someone at the beginning of the week. I found that it helps me think much, much clearer. And finally, find a lot of hidden opportunities in your mailing list or in your existing audience. So your goal is not to create one product for your audience. Your goal is to create a suite of products and upsell each of them to your audience. So what I would do right now is, after a month of people signing up to the product and downloading it and being on the mailing list, I would just send them, again, a quick personal email saying, is there something else that you're dealing with in your business that I can help you with, or I can create a solution for? And we started a lot of discussions. There's another product that I created last year called Status Panda, and it's a status reporting and employee evaluation tool. And this came out of talking with a few dozen people on the mailing list and helping them on the phone, and finding out that they're actually having a pain point in dealing with finding the status of each person in the team and each project they're working on. And a lot of them were losing money because a delayed task would become a late project, and then the clients would be pissed off and they wouldn't pay on time. So I would not have created that product if I hadn't asked people what they were dealing with. And if I were like, okay, I'm just creating these design stuff for people, but I don't care about their employees. You can own a lot of the workflow of your customers if you think about just creating one product, making it successful, growing it, and complementing it with different products that can help them through the entire pipeline of their business. And finally, on the last year or the third year, you want to avoid mistakes as much as possible in the existing products. So for the new products, make mistakes. But once you have an established product and business, people notice every mistake you make, and they will call you on it. Trust me. So final thoughts. Like I said, I didn't want to repeat the same mistake I did on the first product that I did not launch, which is I wanted to learn everything in advance and then do something. There is a ton of information on the internet, and it's not the amount of information that you can ingest every day about something, but it's the quality of questions that you can ask at every step. Like, what do you want to accomplish at the end of this step? Find out the questions you want to ask and go ask people, go ask on forums. Surprisingly, a lot of the successful people, they want to help others, which was like a good surprise for me, because I ping people on Twitter, I go and ask on Quora, I approach people on Facebook, LinkedIn. I did everything I could to kind of like find the best answer for a question. The second one, which it's kind of like it was like a revelation for me, probably too late in the process, that I want to share so you can have it probably early in your process, which is be of service. It's very hard to fail if your goal is to help others. And to find out how to help others, just go and ask them how to help them. And if they feel you genuinely want to help them, they will help you help them. But if your goal is just to sell and to like block your ears and not listen, but talk about your product, they will feel that. So that came to me a little late in the process, but it's better late than never. I hope that more people would recognize that, because it was a big revelation for me. And finally, don't burn out. I added this slide yesterday after a couple of presenters talked about burning out. And I was burning out by the third year because I was doing so much. And that's when I slowed down and decided this is going to be a lifestyle business. I don't want to grow it and manage it that much. And I added this slide because I read a very important article in Scientific American about burnout. And what they said is it's not the amount of work that you do on the product that burns you out, it's the amount of time that you spend thinking about it when you're not working on it. So someone can work on their product 12 hours a day and take 5-6 hours completely decompressing and disconnecting from the product. This person will not burn out. But if you work on your product 8 hours and you're just thinking about it for the remaining 8 hours, you will burn out because your mind is just churning constantly. So work hard on your product, but find ways to disconnect completely, do something outside, go out, do yoga, meditate, exercise, be healthy, be with others, do things with your hands, because we do a lot of digital stuff and it's like always head and mind and hands, but the rest of the body isn't really involved. So find a way to disconnect. Don't look at emails. I know it's really hard not to, but don't check your phone for customer emails. It's okay if you miss some of them. Life won't stop, but you will become very healthy and much more productive the following day. And that's it. I think we finished early, like 6 minutes early, so open it up for questions.
Thank you. I was wondering where I could find that Scientific American article you referenced on burnout.
Can you say again?
The article you referenced on burnout?
I think it was Scientific American Mind. They have like special issues. They call it Scientific American Mind, and the issue is called The Science of Burnout.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Perhaps Kai Davis might be able to find that and link it up in the, yeah. So remember microconfrecap.com if you want to hear or see the live notes that Kai is making, as well as links like that. He'll try to find it.
Since you got a couple minutes, I wonder if you could talk a little more about deals and bundles and how to not alienate your existing customers.
All right. So we ran our first deal with AppSumo, and it did really well for them and for us. I think we had over 1,000 customers in the first like 4 or 5 hours. But so you want to make the deal in a way that gives you kind of future potential for upselling your products with the customers. So let's say one thing that I consciously did on the product, and that goes with the pricing option, is the product doesn't have a monthly subscription. It's actually a one-time purchase. Initially, I wanted to do a monthly subscription of $10, $15 a month, maybe for the small kit, and maybe $20, $25 for the larger kit. And I spoke with some friends of mine, and they were saying, the longer we can retain a customer is like 3 to 6 months. And it's very hard to keep them for even 10 months. So I thought about a trick that really worked for us and really worked for our customers, which is I'm going to make it a one-time fee. It's almost I'm making them pay for the first year. And it's going to be upfront, but they get lifetime updates for the remaining of the life of the product. So they were getting excited every time I was launching the updates. I would send them email, hey, download this new kit we just put together for you. And even people who paid $4 in 2011 for the product were getting the same update someone was getting for $100 later on. So they were evangelizing a lot about the product. When we ran the deals, we made it so that we kind of don't give the lifetime update, but people would get the product, like a snapshot of the product at this instant of time. And because the product is updated frequently, I also send them email, but to that list I say, if you want to get the lifetime update, you can upgrade to the lifetime membership for this additional value. So I think 2 lessons for us was where don't discount it too much so that the value doesn't seem, the value originally asking for doesn't seem like a lot different than what other people are getting, and find some upgrade path from people who bought the deal to having them buy more products in the future.